First canto, first chapter, questioned by the sages, and the continuation of text 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Dharma Protita Kaitavatra Paramoniya Matsaranam Satam Vidyam Vastavang Atra Vastu Sivarang Tapotrayan Mulanam Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parai Ishvara Sadyo Rityavarutya Ritra Kritibis Susrusubis Tatsanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are material motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Sri Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, he becomes attached to the Supreme Lord. Over and above, purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Sri Vyasadeva. It is written in the maturity of his spiritual life, through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyasadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Therefore there is no question as to his authority. He is the author of all Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam above all others. In other Puranas there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods. But in the Bhagavatam only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the total body, and the demigods are different parts of that body. Consequently, by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one does not need to worship the demigods. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana and distinguishes it from all other Puranas. The proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. The word is susrushu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. Less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate people find enough time to hear idle social political conversations, but when invited to attend a meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant. Some professional readers of the Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which they seemingly interpret as sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in this sloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. The intelligent person, by thoughtful discretion, can be assured by the great sage Vyasadeva that he can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas, one can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramhansa simply by agreeing to receive this message. Jnanatimrandasya Gnandana Shalakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Bhataram Pangum Rangate Grimyat Kripatamaham Mande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. completely rejecting all religious activities which are material motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Shiva Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, he becomes attached to the Supreme Lord. So we know Vyasadeva, he compiled the Bhagavatams, actually all the Vedic literatures. And it says he understood this and he gave it to us in his maturity. So after he divided all the Vedas, Puranas, Itihasas, this enormous, we cannot even imagine how much there is in all the Vedic literatures combined together. He combined all this and still he was not satisfied. So he contemplated, what have I done wrong? And this is really, we should, if we are not feeling satisfied in spiritual life, we should contemplate, what am I doing wrong? And maybe the thing we are doing wrong is not really listening to Bhagavatam or not being serious about it. So he was contemplating, what have I done wrong? And he in his mind, he called his spiritual master, Narada Muni. And then he got to the conclusion himself. He understood, this must be the reason. But to make it clear to himself so there was no mistakes, he called his spiritual master, Narada Muni came and he told him. He says, Nayad vachastita padang nadya yaso jagat pranitam prakanita kaichit tadvaya sanktirtan usanti manasa nayatra hangsanina manju siksaya. He said, Nayat vachas, those words are not described. Nayat vachas tita padang, even though they are decorative. Nayat vachas tita padang harya yaso. Harya, the glory is of Krishna. Jagat pranitam prakanita kaichit. Who alone can, the Supreme Lord, who alone can sanctify the whole universe. Tadvaya sanktirtha usanti manasa. So then, by such persons, jagat pranitam prakanita kaichit. Tadvaya sanktirtha, yes. So they see it as a tirtha, as a holy place for crows. So all this literature, even the Vedas, if it does not directly describe Krishna, then what they see it is a place for crows, a theatre for crows. And that is in dump places, right, where they put all the garbage. That's where you find all the crows. That's where they go. Because all this literature is simply meant for entangling one in material life. We keep repeating birth and death. So more than 90% of the Vedas deal with karmakanda. And karmakanda is simply entangle one more and more in material existence. But this, as Prabhupada says in the purport, this Paramhansa literature, it's meant for a higher purpose. So that's why Tadvaya Sanktirtan Usanti Manasa, Usanti Manasa, these great persons, Usanti Manasa, Nayatra Hangsan Yadamantya Siksaha, Tadvaya Nayatra Hangsan Hangsas, these swan-like personalities, this is the literature they are absorbed in. And then Narada Muni continues, Tadvak Visago Janataka Vipravo, that it's meant to create a revolution in the empire's life of this misdirected civilization. So who will not hear and sing and glorify these literatures? It's meant for revolution. And that's really what Bhagavatam is for. It's meant for us to change our heart, make a revolution in our hearts, so that instead of being absorbed in mundane matters, we are engaged in Bhagavatam. So Krishna, he describes himself in the Bhagavatam as Vyasadeva. You know, Vyasadeva is an empowered Saktivesa incarnation of Krishna. That is especially empowered for this specific purpose of giving us this literature. Because in Kali Yuga this is the only hope. Prabhupada says here in the purport that the implication is difficult. But what was he saying? The implication is difficult, but anyway, it's difficult to really implement it in our lives. It's easy to read it and to some way understanding, but it's very, very difficult to implement it in our lives. And that's again what Bhagavatam is for. It's not, as Prabhupada says, not for armchair speculators sitting there with their Scots and discuss Bhagavad Gita, discuss Bhagavatam. Because there are many scholars of Bhagavatam, which not really haven't understood the essence of it. So Vyasadeva, he was in the same exact position. He had made all this literature and all the Vedas, and still he was not satisfied. And then immediately when Narada Muni came and told him what we just heard, then he said, okay, now I understand. And then he gave us Bhagavatam. Then he compiled the Bhagavatam. And then being satisfied. So if we are not feeling satisfied in spiritual life, that's where we should see. That's where we should look. Maybe this is the problem, that we are not really studying the Bhagavatam with the right understanding. Because if that is not there in our spiritual life, we told a few days back, right, there's this 4 or 5 items of devotional service. Can we remember them? What are the 5 most powerful items of devotional service? You can remember any of them? Chanting the Hari Mahanam. Yeah, what?
Hearing the Bhagavatam.
Hearing the Bhagavatam. Yeah, chanting and hearing the Bhagavatam. You know any? Residing in a holy place. Serving devotees, sadhu sangha, right? Being with devotees. And we miss one, which is one. So your deity worship.
Okay.
So these 5, the Durhat Buddha Viryasmin Shraddha Dhuras Tupanchake. Just these, they are so Durhat Buddha, they are so wonderful, but difficult to perform. Durhat Buddha Viryasmin, and the power, the Virya. Sanskrit is such a language, right? You can hear it, Virya, it's power, right? There's some power there, Virya. So that the power of just one of those, Durhat Buddha Viryasmin Shraddha Dhura, just little faith, Shraddha Dhura Stupanchake, in of these 5. And it says Swalpa, just a little of faith of this, brings one to the level of Bhava. Bhava Janmani, give birth to Bhava. So this is the power of Bhagavatam. But we hear even one of them is powerful enough. But if we perform deity worship without chanting, will we get the result? No, we won't, right? Because that has to be there. So the chanting of the holy names has to be there in all the items. Otherwise, it doesn't work, especially in Kali Yuga. And I'll argue, and maybe we'll back it up now. I'll argue that it's the same with Bhagavatam. If we do not hear Shastra every day, then we will forget why we are chanting, or we will not have. There will be nothing coming when we are chanting. We will recite the names, right? But a parrot can recite the names. A parrot can say Hare Krishna, but there will be no rasa there. There will be no change of heart, because it's not doing with the right understanding. So it's not just chanting. Really, the only thing that gives us the mercy of Krishna is by pleasing him. So Krishna says he's pleased by these activities, but he says, like we hear it again and again, it has to be attentive, right? Chanting attentive rounds. When Prabhupada came to America and started the whole movement, he actually wanted the devotees to chant 64 rounds. And the disciples said, Prabhupada, we cannot, we have so much service, we cannot chant 64 rounds every day. Prabhupada said, okay, you chant 32. And Prabhupada, we can't do that either. Okay, you chant 16s, but they have to be attentive. They have to be quality. So Prabhupada already drosseled it down so much that it's just a bare minimum. So if we're not really putting our heart into that, then we'll get a very meager result. And the only reason, the only possibility of getting that is understand why we are chanting, and that's what Bhagavatam is there for. Bhagavatam is ultimately a 10th canto. Prabhupada describes here in the purport that we shouldn't immediately jump to the 10th canto. We should read it canto by canto. Because that's how Bhagavatam is compiled. It's not chronological. It's more in bhava, or you can say in topics, or in advancement. So it starts with, again, as I mentioned a few days back, it starts where Bhagavad Gita ends. And it brings us all the way up to 10th canto, where it's Krishna and the gopis, rasa dance. And then it takes us back into the material world again. Hey, remember this also. You're not in your right home. You shouldn't just be absorbed in Rasa Lila. So this is Bhagavatam. This is what is there. And it's giving us all this information. And that's why it says, Prabhupada says here, the important word is Shushrushu, that we should hear, right, this culture. We should hear this culture of Bhagavatam. And we have the same word in the famous section in Bhagavatam that describes how we are progressing in spiritual life. And it says Shushrushu, again, Shushrushu Shraddhatanasya. So one who's hearing with faith, Shushrushu Shraddhatanasya, Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. What happens? Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. We get a ruchi, we get a taste for hearing the Bhagavatam. And if we do not have it already, Shanmahat Sevaya. What is the measure? If we do not have that taste, what to do? Shanmahat Seva. Serve the great devotees. Serve the devotees free from all vice. And we will say, hey, I don't know any devotees free from all vice. No, but then find whatever you can find. If there's devotees. Even like it says this in Bhagavad Gita, you should remember me constantly, Krishna says. If you can't do that, then perform Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. If you can't go that, so he goes down that step. Right? So we are also we need to understand, if we do not have the taste for Bhagavatam, there's something wrong. So we should find out, what should I do to get that taste, Vasudeva Bhagavati, Ruchi. And that is Shanmahat Sevaya, Vipra. These Vipra, these great personalities, rice-born personalities, that's how to do it. And then Krishna says, by doing that, then Krishna, who is the super soul in everyone's heart, he cleanses the heart from the material contamination. So Krishna takes it away. And that's the process. Then when we are clean, we are attracted to Bhagavatam. We are attracted to Krishna. If that is not there, it's like we have jaundice. And that attraction will not be there. So then we need to find what is the cure for jaundice. And it's not sugar water, that's the cure for jaundice. But our jaundice is hearing Bhagavatam, serving the devotees, chanting our rounds to our sincere, being sincere in our devotional service. Then this, as which we hear, touch sanat in this verse today. Then touch sanat without delay. Satyo Hritya Radutya Ritrak. Krishna, he manifests in the heart of a devotee who is living like that. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We hear every day, we should hear Bhagavatam. Then it works. If you just take the medicine once in a while, or we try, I was just putting some wood in the fire, in the wood burner, so we can get heat. But if you use wet wood, what happens? You cannot really ignite the fire. So if the fire is not emanating in our devotional service, if the fire is not ignited, the wood is wet. So we have to find out ways how to dry the wood. And that's what Bhagavatam is for. So it says here, what is the use? Kim va parai. What is the use of any other literature? Vyasadeva says. It's interesting, Vyasadeva, because this is in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. So he's saying this, that this is the highest literature, but he didn't know that to start with. That's actually in 5th canto. So that's why I said before, it's not chronological. Because what he's saying here is the Bhagavatam is the highest, and he just glorified Krishna in this beautiful first verse. He just glorified Krishna. He's the source of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universes. He gave this knowledge to Brahma. So he just gave this beautiful description of Krishna, and I was giving this beautiful description of Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam hasn't really started yet. This is just Vyasadeva giving his explanation of what to come, so that we can understand that this is the attraction we should have. If it's not there, something is wrong. And we just have to find out what that is wrong. So what Krishna is saying here, Krishna, when we are following the Kritibis, when we follow this culture, Bhagavatam culture, then what happens? Krishna becomes manifest and what is the word he's using? soon as one realizes it, becomes attached to the Supreme Lord, one becomes attached, as one follow this culture of Bhagavatam, one becomes attached to Krishna. And that's the goal of life. Right? This is the essence of existence, to become attached to Krishna. So we have the cure, right? We have the healing herb, we have the medicine. But it's just about taking the medicine with the right. Sometimes you take Ayurvedic medicine, you have to take it together with honey or some warm milk or some special other spices. Otherwise it won't, because they get this synergy effect, right? That it helps each other. So the same, all these 5 items, especially Bhagavatam and chanting, they like help each other. One without the other is very difficult. But if they're there together, they support each other, like the medicine support each other, and then the process is very powerful. So we have the cure, we have everything is available to us at our fingertips. It's just a matter of accepting it and taking it. Okay, I'll stop there. Any comments or questions?
No, I thought one thing. I think if you look at Prabhupada's process, that's the way to do it really. You see in the beginning how they did, just together and chanting and helping each other. It's really the safe way. Because where's the saint anyway? It's all completely animals more or less. People.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, like being with Prabhupada in the beginning?
It's like they did in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's really this. It's definitely the same way.
Yeah.
Kind of way.
How Prabhupada did in the beginning.
Had this one place and all did everything together. And,
That was this, like I mentioned, revolutionary spirit, right? That was there in the beginning. All the devotees then, they thought like it's just a matter of weeks, then the whole world will be Krishna conscious. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but that was really the mood. Right? It's just, we have this knowledge because, especially in the beginning, and then these devotees were very new, right? Especially in the beginning, you get so much mercy from Lord Nityananda, you get so much mercy, that you just, wow, I just got this jewel of knowledge and this process, and the devotees are just like, they're not touching the ground when they're walking. I'm surrounded with these beautiful personalities, right? And like everything is just so great. And then gradually, like you come, oh, he's snoring at night, or why is he doing this, and he's not eating properly, and I can hear he's not chanting his round properly, and we start finding fault. And then that's when we really lose the taste. So yeah, we should be like these new devotees. We should, because we are. Right? I am a neophyte, so we should understand this is our position. We might have a little more knowledge than when we started. We might have a little more purity maybe than when we started, right? But still, there's far some place to go, some distance to go in our devotional service. So if you understand, that's why we hear Trinadapi Sunitina, right? It's humility and tolerance, and just being grateful to be amongst devotees, just being grateful for that, being grateful for having Bhagavatam. Like 5,000 years ago, there was no books like that. You have to hear it from a person, and that could be difficult to find. Right? It's not just at your fingertips. You can go and hear from a person whenever you want to. So that's what we have now. We have all this available. So we just need to take advantage and have that, as you say, revolutionary spirit in our lives. And try to be enthusiastic and encourage each other. This was Bhagavatam is for, and if you read Krishna book in the evening, that's what it's for, like getting this inspiration. Wow, I want to get to that point, right, where I have such attraction to Krishna that I can easily give up this bad attractions I already have to the material energy by parang drishtva, by a higher taste. So
I mean, most people try to change the law, and it doesn't work.
No. There's only one way to change the world, really.
There's an way that sang them together, then the put is there.
Nivritta tasa upagiya manat bhavasya dats chutamino viramat ka uttama sloka punadamat pumanvira yeda vinapasupnat. That is nivritta tasa, this Bhagavatam, it releases one from material existence. Nivritta tasa upagiya manat bhavasya dats. It means there's a healing herb. It's a healing herb. Chuttamanopi Ramat, and its Ramat is very pleasing to the tutta, to the ear, and the heart and the mind. Ka uttama sloka gunanuvadat. And this is Uttama Sloka, in Krishna Uttama Sloka. Gunanava, that his qualities explained. Pumanvidat yeda vinara pasuknat. Who will not pay attention, who will not have attraction to this? Pasuknat, except a dog eater, one who's eating a stool, who's like killing his own self. Right? Who's killing his own self. So if we're not really having attraction for this, we are killing our own selves.
But there are 5 persons, they eat in their own room, and meeting, they get nowhere, but if they go in one room, it works.
Yes. Yeah, Nityam Bhagavat, it's seva, it's service, right? And we do it together. It's sankirtanam. It's congregational chanting. It's not like we all sitting. This is not the process. Especially in Kali Yuga, we are not strong enough for that. You need this. Krishna says, I'm not there where the yogis are sitting in the caves and doing meditation on austerity, and he gives a whole list. He says, I'm there with the devotees, they come together and they chant my holy name, my glorious. And this is what also what we hear here today, Prabhupada is emphasizing. You had a point?
I was just thinking that serving devotees, actually we are performing the highest service to Srila Prabhupada when we are propagating his books every morning or on the street for donations and so forth. We are serving Prabhupada because his attitude was that if we weren't reading his books, then what's the use? Nothing else will please him. If we're doing everything but reading his books and relishing, then it is all a useless endeavor. Huh?
There's this famous conversation where all the Prabhupada disciples, these big Maharajas, these big book distributors, they came and they had a special darshan with Prabhupada, only for the biggest book distributors. They had this darshan with Prabhupada. And then of course one said, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most, man? A very tainted question. And they were all thinking, Prabhupada, distribute my books. And Prabhupada says, that you love Krishna. But at so many other places, Prabhupada says, simply distribute my books. So Prabhupada had a lot of emphasis on this, right? Yes. Distribute my books, distribute my books. Yeah. Because this is again, Prabhupada, he was practically not sleeping. Instead he was translating these books. Yeah. Such a sacrifice for Prabhupada, right? Doing this every night when everybody else was sleeping. Yeah. Because of course he understands, and maybe we also know that this is really, if person gets a book, most of the devotees joining, they got a book in the street. Right? Somebody came there and gave them a book, and did this hard yagya, going out there giving them books in the street. And now he says, wow, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. And then he starts taking the process. And just one soul saved, right? Everyone in this Kali Yuga is practically going to hell. It's like in Vedic times, what is in 5th canto? It said simply, if a guest comes to your house and you look at him with angry eyes, there's a special hell for that. So just you look at a guest coming to your house, let's say somebody comes and knock your door and you're busy, and what do you want? That's enough to go to hell. So there's so many things we hear in this 5th canto. It's not really like you have to kill a brahmana, or it's often very small details. So everybody's heading that direction. But just getting one book, just seeing a devotee, just appreciating devotees, doing some agyata sakriti, unknown devotional service, can immediately bring that person away from there and start his devotional service, start his devotional life.
Something else, I understand that, Prabhupada said that, because the great devotee is interested in saving people. That's the essence. Yeah. Whether you read the book or not, that was what he was saying there.
Yeah, saving people, that's what he means.
I remember
Hara dukkha dukkhi, right? The devotee is suffering when he sees others suffering. Yeah.
I mean, so I remember back, kids said like, one glass puja, for me it was also encouraged, but I didn't just read books. So it's like he said, it's like the icing of the cake and everything else. It's there, but so maybe one could have phrased it in another way.
Yeah.
For all disciples, to feel. Because in essence, the man is saying you serve Krishna. Perfect. Again,
what Prabhupada, simply what I decide is you love Krishna. So whatever that takes, right? We are all different. And some will enjoy one service, because we should. Susukham Katham, devotional service is enjoyable performed. So again, sometimes there might be things we need to do, right? We are not really inclined to do, or sometimes we need to do the needful. But really devotional service would be joyfully performed. One of my favorite quotes from Prabhupada is that it's simply dancing, chanting and feasting. This is devotional service, chanting, dancing, and feasting. That's what you're doing. And the devotee said, but Prabhupada, We have to get up early in the morning, we have to do the service, all the seva and all these things, right? And the Prabhupada said, no, chanting, dancing and feasting. Because that's, when we get to this level of living Bhagavatam, then everything is chanting, dancing and feasting because we are doing it for Krishna.
Yeah.
And that's where the taste is. And Krishna is the one giving the taste. So when Krishna is pleased with us, we can, like Narada Muni, he's traveling, he's even going to hell. And he's in constant ecstasy because he's pleasing Krishna. So Krishna is giving him that Shakti. So no matter what we are doing, if we're doing it with the right attitude, it will be chanting, dancing and feasting. This in Caitanya Mahaprabhu, when they were cleansing the Gundicha temple, right? All the devotees was in complete ecstasy. They were going cleaning outside, cleaning inside, cleaning all the small details. First cleansed it one time. Then he said, okay, now we go and take the smaller parts. First they took out all the gross, all the big things. Now we take all the small parts. And then they started cleaning. So it was more or less 3 times. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu was doing more than all of them, all the other together. And devotees, they were saying one thing. There was not, hey, give me a bucket, or can you please help me here? Everything they were doing, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then they understood, oh, he needs a bucket. So Krishna just from within, he just make a new system of communication.
Yes.
Right? They were just chanting and then all immediately understood what the other wanted.
I remember I was just joined, when I just joined. I came to this Prabhupada disciples to the temple. Especially this one who was welcomed by Minkle. And I was there was the before class was there at Radhamadava, and he was just chanting, he was just trying to listen. I understood he has taste. For me it was I never forgot it was so I realized this was about it.
We should learn to enjoy devotional service. We should learn to enjoy chanting. We should learn to enjoy especially studying Bhagavatam. And it's just a more or less a mental adjustment. That we are attracted to so many things, right? Facebook and whatever is out there on the internet, as you said yesterday. It's just nonsense, right? Cat videos or it's just like most of it is just completely. After we saw it, have you elevated your consciousness? No, you have degraded your consciousness. Right? So there might be a little attraction, or there might be a little enjoyment there because it's just you're just being entertained, right? You see a cat doing some stupid things or whatever. So it's just some entertainment, but it's not. There's nothing to it. It's shallow, right? It's shallow, and it degrades our consciousness. Or we can get into all this literature, like these stories. No matter, like even from a mundane level, these stories are very interesting. Ritasura and Dhruva Maharaj fighting these yakshas, right? See a war like that. I haven't seen any movie that can compare to that. Right? He was killing and all these astras, weapons coming, and then create all those illusions, right? When stool and pus and bones and everything is falling from the sky and like all this, and then Dhruva Maharaj is just completely, nobody can see, there's so many arrows coming at him that they can't see him, like everything becomes dark because of all these arrows, and Dhruva Maharaj with his own arrows, he shoot them down, or by his astras he creates some mystic powers, and that's a war, and that's like, that's attracting. But because what our problem is, that we are used to getting everything served on a golden plate, right? Here you have it chewed, everything is given to us. Because we see the pictures on the television or on the computer, we see everything is being, you see a movie, everything is being shown to us. But when you read, you need to use your mind, you need to use your intelligence to create your own pictures. So if we are capable of doing that, then this is much more exciting than any of these low-class, mundane movies. This is just degrade our consciousness. So we just need to make that adjustment, make that, like, really find our taste in what helps us, and give up the taste in the things that do the opposite. And that is what this is for. If every day, take the medicine, and Prabhupada says here it's like jaundice, right? It might be bitter once in a while, because again we have bad habits, right? So it might be bitter once in a while. But if you just continue taking the medicine, Bhavausa Dutch, then at one point the attraction will be there. This is what this verse says again, I just mentioned. Singvatam Svakata Krishna, that is Krishna, who is the super soul in everyone's heart, cleanses the desire of material enjoyment. That is taken away. Krishna takes it away. and then we get attraction for Bhagavatam. It's a very simple process. As Brahma says, simple for the simple, but complicated for those who are complicated.
Definitely difficult to understand.
Sorry?
It's definitely not difficult to understand.
No, it's not difficult. No.
But to follow is that's another story.
It is very simple, right? It is completely clear. But still, I like to see, but now it might be difficult. But Prabhupada gave a beautiful thing here. What was it said? It's easy to... it's a beautiful way of putting it. Let me just, I think I can find it quickly.
One thing. I saw 1 year ago there's this yogi from the Himalayas. He became a yogi.
Yeah.
He was so blissful always. Because he had some qualifications. Actually, he'd been living up there all year round doing yoga. So he became Hare Krishna. He was a happy guy.
Listen to this. I think this is beautiful. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. So the process, it's easy to do the process. Right? Everyone, like Prabhupada says, a child can chant Hare Krishna. Yeah. But the application is difficult. What does that mean? Really to apply it in our life, really using it in our life, putting our heart into it, doing Nityam Bhagavata saying, doing it every day. That's what it means. The application is difficult. It's easy, the process is easy, a child can do it.
You see advanced devotees, you realize. Like one of this, remember Sumaka's son? He died many years ago.
Who was it?
Sumaka.
No.
From South America.
Oh.
But when he was standing, that was the real thing.
Okay.
It was with the heart. He was kind of advanced in that way. He just given his whatever he had. This was for Krishna.
Yeah. And that's the person we should associate with, right? If we do not have to taste ourselves, we should associate with people who do, and then we gradually get to us also to some degree.
Maybe it was one time by the teacher's son, he was leading his son. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should come to that level where we have that purity, and then everyone will come attracted. When we go on the streets in Hainam, people will just spontaneously get attracted. It's the purity that attracts. Yeah. Right? It's not, with Bhagavatam, it's not always just what is said, right? It's more like it's coming, it's pure. When we hear Prabhupada, or we hear, it's said like you can have blank bullets or real bullets. So if you're being shot with a real bullet, it hurts, right? And you die. But if it's blank bullet, you might get the shock. Hey, are you shooting me? And then you find, there's no power there. It's just the sound. Yeah. So that's when I'm talking. It's just sound. But when the pure devotees talk, it's like real bullets, right? It goes and changes the heart. Yeah. That's why Prabhupada. Often, sometimes people just heard Prabhupada once. That was it, right? This is the one I have to follow. He has the message. So they could just see, even though they were so covered, they could just see here is the purity. So again, Krishna here from within, he gives it. He says, this is what you should do. Yeah. When the pure devotee is there to give this knowledge.
Sometimes if we cannot hear, we should also think of this like description that their heart is contaminated, and that's why we cannot hear. And so we should not be shy we should not shy away to take some menial service, because cleaning the floor in the temple room, for example, that's just like sometimes in the temples not even the brahmacharis want to do it. They expect that some guest will just come and fix it, and they can go happily to bed, But it's actually one of the best activities. We see Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself is like the spearhead of cleaning the Kundita temple, and I was also thinking Krishna at the Yudhishthira Maharaj's Surya, this large yagya, he took the service of washing the feet of all the devotees. Were they all pure devotees?
Actually, it was Krishna taking that service.
Yeah, Krishna, he took it, yes. At your Yudhishthira Maharaj's. So how can we not, when Krishna will relish and perform this this example, how can we say that this is too low for me, this is beyond me? Like, if service is, I saw a quote at if a service to others is below you, then leadership is beyond you. Because actually that Krishna is the leader of all leaders, and he will wash the feet of everyone. And even Shishupal came at that gathering. We know that very well.
He was washing his feet also.
He had to
You
wash
mentioned
his
yesterday with Indra Prabhu, right? And it said to Madhava Prabhu once, now we go and clean the toilets,
Yes.
right? Bathrooms. And Madhava Prabhu said, no way, I'm not going to clean it. And then Indra Prabhu, he got out there and did it himself. And then Madhava Prabhu, he tells the story. He said, then I also went and helped him.
Yeah.
But he's this like big Caitanya, everybody is like glorifying, he's up there, right? But he takes that menial service because it's so important. Yeah. And that's what Krishna becomes pleased when he see that we do something. Again, Srinada Pisanechana, we should be humble like a straw in the street. Exactly. If Krishna see that we have that attitude, then Krishna gives the mercy. Yeah. And again, as Krishna is washing the feet of all these people coming there, you can say that practically the lowest service, we understand is higher, but that would consider it very low, right? From a mundane point of view. Yeah. So Krishna takes that example. And that's what he says in Bhagavad Gita, like everyone, Manusha, Yat Yat Acharya teaches us, that everyone will follow the example of such a great personality. Yeah. Okay, I think we need to stop. Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.